Think about this. You are 30,000 feet in the air. Over the Atlantic Ocean, the lights in the cabin are low, and the passengers are sleeping. The flight attendants are softly serving water. Everything appears fine until the captain's shaky voice on the intercom breaks the silence. "This is your captain speaking, ladies and gentlemen. Please come forward right once, if there are any combat pilots on board." Everyone looks, and bewilderment spreads like fire. And in row 10, a young woman wakes up. No one could have known that her next move would affect the lives of everyone on that plane. Alina Carter was 29 years old and a former Air Force fighter pilot. She had left the military 2 years ago after a mission went horribly wrong. She was on the road, without anyone knowing it. She had her hair tied back and was wearing plain pants and a hoodie. Just like any other passenger trying to get away from the noise of life, no one knew what she had been through. No one knew that she used to fly F-16s and had to fight for her life in dog battles. Alina had gotten on this aircraft in the hopes of finding serenity. She had headphones in, a half-read book on her lap, and she was so tired that she was about to fall asleep. But when the captain spoke, her heart raced. "Combat pilots. Why would a commercial airplane need a fighter pilot?" She gently unbuckled her seatbelt, torn between her instincts and her wish to stay hidden. She thought back to her last mission. Her squadron, the explosion, and the friends she couldn't save. She had promised herself that she would never fly again, and that she would never be a hero again. But the captain's anxious tone made her think that lives were at danger. People looked at Alina as she walked down the aisle and whispered, "What's going on? Is she truly a pilot?" She didn't pay attention to them, and her jaw was tense. The scene in the cockpit was worse than she thought it would be. The captain looked pale and had sweat running down his face. His co-pilot was slumped over and unconscious, and his oxygen mask was off. The control panels were full of warning alarms. The plane had flown into a storm that was very bad, and suddenly a malfunction in the system made it quite unstable. The captain's voice broke. "We lost the autopilot. My co-pilots are out, and the turbulence has broken the controls. This plane will fall if I pass out too." Elena's training started to work. She looked over the instruments and ran her fingers over the controls as if she were getting to know an old acquaintance again. Even though commercial airplanes weren't fighter planes, she knew everything there was to know about flying. "I can do this," she remarked with confidence. The captain looked at her. "Who are you?" she asked, looking him in the eye. "Call sign Viper, retired from the U.S. Air Force, is taking the co-pilot seat." Alina held on to the yoke. Outside, the storm clawed at the plane and lightning lit up the scared faces within. Passengers yelled, oxygen masks fell, and the plane shook severely. Elena's breathing got more steady. She had flown through anti-aircraft fire, avoided missiles, and danced with death in the skies. This storm was just another enemy to outsmart, she said. "Left engine fluctuating," she said under her breath as she changed the power. "The hydraulics are failing," the skipper said. Elena's voice was like steel as she continued. "Then we fought like a crippled bird." She flew the jet through areas of turbulence. Using the same technique she had used in combat, every step had to be perfect. If they were too sharp, the plane would break apart. If they were too soft, it would lose altitude. Passengers in the cabin held on to one another, not knowing that the woman in row 10 was their only hope. "Is she an angel?" a tiny child asked her mom. The mother nodded, her face wet with tears. Minutes felt like hours. The storm wasn't letting up, and the fuel was running low. Elena's arms hurt, and her nerves were on fire, but she didn't give up. She saw a thin line on the runway. Lights through the storm, the emergency landing strip of a coastal airbase tower. "This is Delta 473. The pilot used to be in the USAF. Ask for an emergency landing." Static made a noise. Then we heard the voice of an air traffic controller. "Copy that, Viper. You can land now. We're on your side." The runway got closer quickly. Crosswinds hit the plane hard, seeking to push it off track. People on the bus prayed, cried, and made commitments to God. Alina tuned everything else out. All she could see was the yoke in her hands, the runway ahead, and the sound of her own heart thumping. "Steady, steady," she said. The wheels squealed on the asphalt, The plane hit the ground hard after bouncing once and then again. Alina fought it, breaking reverse thrust and crying till it finally stopped. Thank God. There was silence, and then there was a loud round of clapping, crying, and cheering. Alina took off her headset, her hand shaking. The captain gazed at her with tears in his eyes. You've just rescued 300 people. Alina just shook her head, though. No, they saved me. She had felt guilty for years since she thought she didn't deserve to live after losing her friends. But she had found her purpose again in that cockpit, battling to keep people alive. When she walked into the cabin, the other passengers stood up, clapped, cried, and reached out to touch her hand. The small girl from before went up to her and clutched her leg. Thanks, Angel. Alina smiled even though she was crying. She felt whole for the first time in years. And so, a woman who wished to go away became a hero in the sky. Alina Carter didn't want to be famous, get medals, or get recognition. She just wanted tranquility. And somehow, she found it again by helping others. You can't always foretell what will happen in life. The person you least anticipate to be strong enough to save everyone is sometimes that person. Row 10 will always be remembered since that's where an angel was sleeping, waiting for the call. CLAPPERBOARD. If this tale made you feel something, give it to someone who needs hope today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful movies that show us how strong everyday people can be.